and making sure they set their fuels as we go down trackside, as we head to 5 red lights for the Italian Grand Prix, and it's lights out and away we go. And I do think the Red Bull did get away pretty nicely. We're heading down into turn 1. Can CASPER challenge for anything? And I don't think everyone can do anything. All of the drivers starting on mediums pretty much, as Epigote goes around the outside of 1 and 2 drivers down the inside of the Red Bull and gets into P3. Raven down to P7 now, as Moorleader and Whipple get up into P5 and P6. As Tung now trying to go around the outside, now has the inside on the Aston Martin as we head into De La Roggia, as the Williams will get into P6, Whipple into P7. Razzle, Skiz and Craggy and Tharlo getting a move on CGM there. CGM dropping down to P14 now and goes off the track, which will allow Fiznik to go up the inside. Avi also down the inside as well to get into P15. So do both Mercedes, Flair as well, and Quartz as well. CGM having an awful sector 2 there, as he's already down at P20 and I think he was in like P11. Craggy and Skiz there trying to go side by side into Ascari. And Skiz, I think, has to go off the track there, and that will allow Tharlo to get around the outside and will get through there. Raven diving down the inside of our Whipple there and gets into P7, so trying to claw back some positions he did lose in that first sector. And I think he will already be trying to make a move on Tung. But as we say that, his teammate Casper looking down the inside of the Red Bull to get into the lead of the race, and he does. And I think at the background there, Brian Evans trying to go around the outside of the Haas, a bit of contact, and through turn 2, the Red Bull getting a slight snap that will allow Epico J to keep P3. And now Moorleader is going to try his luck to ghost through that Red Bull, but the Red Bull just unghosts and will remain in P4. Back at the front, the Red Bull trying to fight it back on the Ferrari, down the inside into De La Roggia and gets back into the lead of the race. Some great racing between these two. Brian Evans is looking close to Epicoche. Will he look for a dive going into Parabolic? He does move to the inside, but decides to back out. Raven does go down the inside of Tung though, but Tung just has a much better line around the outside and will stay in P6 in the moment, but Raven will have the DRS down the straights. Fastest laps being set by everyone. Can Casper now challenge back into the lead of the race on lap 3? And he does, absolutely, up to P1. Raven, though, is going to be under pressure by Whipple as Whipple tries to go around the outside of the Ferrari into turn 1 and into turn 2, still side by side, as the Ferrari gets a much better exit and will stay in P7. Whipple back down to P8, as I thought Craggy is going to try and make a move around the outside on the Sauber. I think Whipple is going to try to go down the inside of Raven as well, but just eventually backs out. And Craggy does indeed hold it down the inside of the Sauber, round the outside on the exit, and he's still going to try and make it move. Still side by side into turn 6. And I think the Sauber eventually just has, or actually just does come out in front, as Skiz tries to make a move, but has a snap of oversteer himself. He was trying to get close out of turn 5, but down the straight into Ascari. I think it'll all be said and done as Craggy eventually gets past the Sauber into P10. Here we go, though, down the straight as we enter lap 4. The Red Bull getting quite close to the Ferrari. Down the inside, he will try and look for it, as we still have a few more fastest laps being set. Quartz on it right now, and the Red Bull does indeed get into P1. Looking down the grid. Oh, Ferrari is Raven has had a slight spin there, and he's now down in P13. Not really too sure what happened to him, as I think that's Tharlo and Snoo there having a bit of contact. Raven up to P13 though, but what happened to the Ferrari? As Tharlo will try to go around the outside of the Ferrari as well and will get into P13. Can Snoo look for a position though, but I think Raven covers that up quite nicely. Flair and Avi though, I think Flair went down the inside of Avi into the De La Roggia chicane, and Avi will have to concede that place. Can he look for a overtake? It's pretty much been the only lap where these two haven't swapped, but down the inside Casper goes and will get into the lead of the race. Looking further down the grid, we're going to see a dive there from Skiz on the Williams, and that was a very committed dive. But I'll tell you what, he made it work quite nicely. What will happen to these top 3? Can the Red Bull get close? Can Brian Evans do anything potentially, as one of the Red Bull moves to the inside? So does Brian Evans, and that was some good teamwork there from the Red Bull pairing. But can they keep that Ferrari at bay? No. Casper will get in front of Brian Evans as we head onto lap 7. What will be achieved by the Ferrari. Can he get back into the lead of the race? And I think he is looking to go down the inside. And the CASPER does indeed get back into the lead, although the Red Bull is still going to be there slightly, but eventually backs out as we see More Leader and Whiffle go side by side into turn 1 and turn 2. Who is going to have the better exit out of turn 2? And I think it is just going to be the Sauber, but our Whiffle does stay in front at the moment. Will they go side by side into Della Roggia? And I don't think they will, but one driver who is going to try and make a move is Mafio on Tung, as he tries to look down the inside, but then eventually has to back out. Visnik gets through on Ransel as well, so does Starlo. And there we go, both Red Bulls will soar past CASPER. CASPER still outbrakes one of them though, and he does manage to stay in P2, so good for him. But Epic OJ touching the back of one of the Red Bulls. The two Red Bulls here trying to box in that Ferrari. The Ferrari still tries to go down the inside of Brian Evans though, as the other Red Bull gets back into the lead. Brian Evans still trying to hold it down the inside, but CASPER managing to get the better exit to get up into P2. Can Epic OJ do anything now as we head down into Della Roggia? Is Brian Evans still looking for a send on CASPER? CASPER covers off the inside. Epic OJ down the inside of one of the Red Bulls, and he isn't able to get the move, but does slow down the rest of the pack. Skiz and Raven, they're having a side-by-side battle as Skiz gets past, so does Tung as well, down the inside of the Ferrari. The Ferrari still holds it around the outside. What a move from Raven to keep that clean without contact. How did Mr. Raven do that? I have to say, good compliance from Tung, though, to keep it clean as well. Raven being clean is just one half of the story, but Epic OJ there gets past the other Red Bull, but it is going to be a massive drag race down into turn 1. CASPER looks to go down the inside of Brian Evans. Epic OJ as well down the inside of one of the Red Bulls, going into turn 1 and 2, but has a bit of a snap there, and that will leave him vulnerable to More Leader, but More Leader unable to make the move either, as Brian Evans is going to look down the inside of CASPER there. And I think the other Red Bull will look for it as well, down the inside, but unable to. CASPER is still going to try and fight this, as he has a half spin, and that does allow the other Red Bull to get through. Will it allow Epic OJ as well to go down the inside into Della Roggia? And they may fight through Curva Grande. As you can see, Epic OJ does indeed get into P3 even before Della Roggia. Can More Leader look for a move though? He's going to try to go around the outside of the CASPER into Della Roggia, but CASPER able to stay in a net P4 spot at the moment. More Leader into net P5. Raven sending the fastest up of the race so far, and half a tenth to our Whiffle. And Epic OJ is going to try to go down the inside of one of the Red Bulls, and thinks Skiz has gone down the inside of More Leader as well. The Red Bull staying in front, but More Leader still fighting with Skiz on the exit of turn 2. Down the inside is going to be Skiz into Curva Grande, but More Leader just stays in front at the moment. Raven within 4 tenths of our Whiffle there, so he has done a pretty decent job there, but how much battery is he using? Skiz down the inside of More Leader into turn 6. And I'll tell you what, that was a very committed move from Skiz there and makes it work. More Leader has to concede that position, but our Whiffle stays in front, and he might try and look for a move on the Sauber there, out of Parabolica there. And it's still going to be side by side. Raven pulls to the inside. Can he get through on all three of them? He gets past the Aston Martin, and he's going to be in a drag race with the Sauber. The Williams, both Williams actually get through there. Can Raven go down the inside? It's going to be 3 wide in front there. Raven does indeed go down the inside, but that's actually the Williams who tries to fight it around the outside. The Williams is spun there, but CASPER and the Red Bull still trying to fight it side by side. Unable to, though. Epic OJ trying to fight with Skiz. Skiz on the inside, going into Della Roggia. Still side by side. And they manage to just get through with a bit of contact, but it's still side by side into turn 6. Who is going to be the leading driver side by side through this corner? And they are still going to remain at side by side into turn 7. And Epic OJ just gets in front. What a fight that was. More Leader as well, trying to go around the outside of all 3 of these. I think Epic OJ is in front. Can More Leader get through on that McLaren? No, he can't. Raven looking down the inside, has the outside, has the inside for turn 10. And he also gets through into P9. Craggy also getting the move. Fisnik as well. More Leader dropping down to P12 now. And we do have the first driver on the hard tyres to box, which is Mafio. Something I was going to say though, is Brian Evans has pulled a 2-second gap to this Red Bull, which Casper is looking to overtake as we go down into turn 1, and easily gets past as well. And interestingly, Mavio is in a net P2 at the moment, so he can push on those mediums, as we do see Raven and Craggy going side by side out of turn 2. But Raven unable to make that over, unable to stay in P10. Mafio gets through on Brian Evans into the net lead, and one of the Red Bulls gets passed on Casper. Epic OJ trying to fight it around the outside of turn 1 and into turn 2, has the inside. Can he get the better exit though? And I think he does. Casper will have to concede that position, but Mafio is in a great place here. Avi is all the way down in P20, but let's see what he will be able to make them work. Epic OJ though trying to go around the outside of the Red Bull. Still side by side as the other Red Bull holds it down the inside. And I think he just gets a better exit out of turn 2 as well, and will keep in at P2 at the moment, or obviously in net P3, sorry, not P2. Casper just has to sit up behind at the moment though. Raven up to P8 as well, I didn't see that, but he is catching up to Skiz. Also, it's been a massive hold up there as Raven has already caught up to that. Can Skiz go down the inside of Casper side by side into turn 6? And to be fair to Skiz, that was a great move. As Craggy goes around the outside of Raven there into Parabolica. Raven still tries to fight this down the inside, as I think Craggy has a much better exit. Raven has to concede the position. Can Craggy try and make a move on Casper as well? And I don't think he's going to be able to. Snoo gets a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and Skiz, and Snoo also retires. Skiz has gone a bit deep into turn 1. That allows Epic OJ to repass it down the inside. And look at Craggy. He's got past on Casper as both drivers go off there. I think that was Skiz and Craggy. Craggy still trying to fight this. He tire locks with the 2 Ferraris there. Can he look for a dive down the inside? But Raven covers it off quite nicely. He's still going to try and fight this with Casper around the outside. Casper drops down to... Oh, actually, Casper remains in P7. It might be Raven who is on the outside there. Raven having to concede the position to Craggy. Skiz will remain in P6 at the moment. And I think we're going to see More Leader and Fiznik go side by side here, as Razzle is also retired from the section. Oh, as they've collected the R-Wiffle a little bit, but R-Wiffle managing to stay facing the right way. More Leader will have to stay behind at the moment. Casper and Craggy going side by side. Oh, I think Craggy has been spun there by Casper, but they went side by side into Della Roggia. I'm not really too sure whose fault that was. I saw it late, as Starlo has been demoted all the way to the back from pitting too late. He's going to try and fight this down the inside, of course, though, on some pretty cold mediums and Quartz spinning there. He didn't make contact. It was just him on the throttle, but I don't know why I found that quite funny, to be fair, as CGM has to cut over the chicane there. And he will give the place back to Tung, but Jojo just have to work a little bit to overtake CGM there. As we do have a virtual safety car, and that is Quartz, who has binned it out of Ascari. And I think he might have been the instigator for that VSC. Can Raven go down the inside? And he is going to try and find a way past, but Epic OJ does go down the inside of Skiz. Raven is there as well on the inside, around the outside of the McLaren. Slight bit of contact, but Skiz stays in front. As Skiz does go down the inside, so does Raven as well. Will they go 3 wide maybe? No, they don't, as Epic OJ nearly closes off the Ferrari, but the Ferrari goes past Skiz as well. Raven with a beautiful exit and gets into P4. Epic OJ is trying to defend off Casper now. Can Skiz do anything on the Ferrari though, as we head down into the Della Roccia chicane, as I think they are just going to remain the same. Skiz remaining in P5, Epic OJ P6, Casper P7, Whipple right behind in P8 as well. I want to keep an eye on this fight, but I also want to see Mafia cross the line. Skiz with a final bite of the dust. Can he do anything? Raven is pulling to the inside. Skiz on the outside. Can Raven keep it? No, he doesn't. He will have to elect to stay behind, but can he do anything with a dash? As Raven picks up a 3 seconds, so does Flair and Jojo, and that is pretty much everything done for them. But Skiz will stay in P4, but Raven goes around the outside as Mafio is going to come to the line to win the Italian Grand Prix. Brian Evans and the other Red Bull will finish in P2 and P3, but it looks like it's going to be a drag race between Raven and Skiz, which Raven will prevail and will take P4 on track, but drops down to P7 on Pens. Epic OJ will then take P4 on track, with Casper finishing in P6 there. Or P5, sorry, my mistake. Whiffle there will take P6 there with Raven in P7. Skiz will finalise his race in P8 with More Leader in P9. Craigie will then finish in P10 with Fiznik P11. Tung will then finish in P12 with Avi in P14. Flair in P4 in P13, sorry for Avi. Flair in P14 with CTM in P15. Jojo will then finish in P16 with Tharlo in P17. And then the non-finishers of Quartz, Razzle and Snoot.